Alan Stanford and the $7 billion Ponzi scheme. In the world of global finance, trust is everything. Investors place their savings into banks and financial institutions, believing that their money is secure, professionally managed, and protected by regulation. But sometimes that trust is exploited. Sometimes the promise of safe investments and high returns something far more dangerous. In the 2000s, one man built a financial empire that appeared legitimate, respected, and extraordinarily profitable. His name was Alan Stanford, and behind his global financial empire was one of the largest Ponzi schemes in American history. Alan Stanford began building his financial business during the 1980s. Based in Texas, Stanford promoted himself as a successful entrepreneur and international banker. Over time, he expanded his operations beyond the United States, creating a network of financial companies connected to Stanford Financial Group. The centerpiece of his empire was Stanford International Bank, headquartered on the Caribbean island of Antigua. From the outside, the bank appeared to be a sophisticated offshore financial institution serving wealthy clients around the world. Stanford carefully cultivated an image of prestige and success. He sponsored international sporting events, funded charities, and presented himself as a respected global businessman. His private jets, luxury lifestyle, and connections with influential figures reinforced the appearance of legitimacy. Investors trusted him, and many believed they were placing their money in one of the safest offshore banks in the world. Stanford's most attractive investment product was something called a certificate of deposit, or CD. Normally, certificates of deposit are low-risk investments offered by banks. Investors deposit money for a fixed period of time and receive interest in return. But Stanford's CDs were different. He promised exceptionally high interest rates, often far higher than those offered by traditional banks. For investors searching for secure returns, the offer seemed almost too good to refuse. Stanford told clients their money was being invested in a diversified portfolio of safe assets. According to the bank, these investments included stocks, bonds, and other financial instruments carefully managed by experts. But the truth was very different. Behind the polished image of Stanford Financial Group, investigators later discovered a massive fraud. The billions of dollars that investors believed were safely invested had not been placed in legitimate assets. Instead, much of the money was used to fund Stanford's own lifestyle and business empire. Private jets, luxury real estate, yachts, and sponsorship deals were all financed using investor funds. At the same time, new investor deposits were used to pay returns to earlier investors. This structure is known as a Ponzi scheme. In a Ponzi scheme, profits are not generated from real investments. Instead, money from new investors is used to pay earlier investors, creating the illusion of success. As long as new money continues flowing into the scheme, the fraud can remain hidden, but eventually the system collapses. By the late 2000s, Stanford Financial Group had attracted billions of dollars from investors around the world. Retirees, professionals, and wealthy individuals had invested their savings into the bank's high-interest CDs. Many believed they were making conservative investments with a trusted financial institution, but regulators had begun to grow suspicious. The unusually high returns promised by Stanford's CDs raised serious questions. Authorities began investigating how the offshore bank was actually investing its funds. In 2009, the investigation exploded into public view. U.S. federal regulators accused Alan Stanford and his companies of running a massive Ponzi scheme worth more than $7 billion. Investigators alleged that the investment portfolio supporting Stanford's CDs was largely fictional. Financial statements presented to investors had been manipulated to hide the truth. The collapse of the scheme shocked investors and regulators alike. Thousands of people had placed their savings into Stanford's bank, believing it was secure. When the fraud was revealed, billions of dollars had disappeared. Alan Stanford was arrested and charged with multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy. The investigation uncovered years of deception involving falsified financial statements, misleading marketing materials, and secret transfers of investor funds. Prosecutors argued that Stanford had deliberately misled investors while using their money to fund his personal empire. The case became one of the largest financial fraud prosecutions in U.S. history. After a lengthy trial, the verdict was delivered. In 2012, Alan Stanford was convicted on multiple charges, including fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. The court sentenced him to 110 years in federal prison. It was one of the longest sentences ever handed down for a financial crime. The collapse of Stanford Financial Group devastated thousands of investors. Many had placed retirement savings into the bank's certificates of deposit. Some lost their life savings. Others faced years of legal battles attempting to recover a portion of their lost funds. The scandal also exposed weaknesses in international financial regulation. Stanford's offshore bank in Antigua had operated with limited oversight, allowing the scheme to grow for years before regulators fully uncovered the truth. Today, the Stanford Ponzi scheme stands as one of the largest financial frauds in modern history. It revealed how powerful financial empires can be, built on deception, and it showed how the promise of safe, high returns can lure even experienced investors into dangerous schemes. Alan Stanford once presented himself as a respected international banker, a man trusted with billions of dollars, but behind the image of success was a fraud that would ultimately collapse under the weight of its own deception. Because in finance, promises can attract investors, but when those promises are built on lies, the consequences can be devastating.
But victims of a different fraud are still waiting for their money 15 years later. Scott Cohn joining us now with the story. Scott, when you brought it up, I was like, oh my God, R. Alan Stanford. I have not heard that name in a while. I can't believe this.
It's still going on, Brian. Let me take you back to this week and this spot in 2009. Remember, the global financial crisis is already full blown. And then this, federal agents swarm the offices of the Stanford Financial Group. The SEC charges that it is a global $7 billion Ponzi scheme run by multimillionaire Alan Stanford, who sold certificates of deposit from his offshore bank in Antigua, touted them as safe investments, largely sold to retirees like Ed and Beverly Antigua. They put half their retirement funds into Stanford CDs and lost it all.
The initial reaction was panic, I think I would say, on both of our parts.
I feel like we had been just flat cheated and lied to. I was really disappointed in the people. I couldn't believe somebody would do that.
And it is still going on 15 years later. Alan Stanford got a life prison sentence. He's at a federal penitentiary in Florida. But from there, acting as his own attorney, he is single-handedly blocking the biggest potential source of recovery for the victims. It's a $1.3 billion settlement with 3 of the banks who are accused of helping him.
He has nothing else to do right now. His cause célèbre is trying to make his case for the courts, ignoring the fact that what he's doing is denying victims' recoveries.
That's Ralph Janvey. He's the court-appointed receiver who has spent the last 15 years trying to unwind the fraud. In his appeals, Stanford alleges that the whole case against him is invalid because he was sued in Dallas, but he was based here in Houston. The courts have thrown that out again and again. Stanford has until today to file what may be his last appeal to the Supreme Court. If that bank settlement eventually does come through, and it still could be months away, it would basically double the recovery for Stanford victims, but it's still not much. Right now, they've recovered about 25 cents on the dollar. It would go up to about 46 cents with that recovery. But you compare that to the victims of the Madoff scandal, who, as you indicated, Brian, have gotten back about 75 cents on the dollar and counting. This is something that the victims and the receiver are, as you can imagine, not happy about.